Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Insufferable Bastards. My name is Joe Grillo for the purposes of this broadcast, and I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Brian Spears. Hello, Brian.
Hello, hello.
So we're going to review, I guess, or discuss, or talk about, or do whatever to Halloween Ends, the movie that the entire internet is talking about, the whole country's talking about, horror, whatever. It's mainstream. Joining us for the discussion is our lifelong friend, our brother from another mother, our frenemy, our lover, the gentleman, Mr. Johnny Amenta from The Pint, a pop culture podcast. Woo!
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. Big fan of the show, frenemy, all that stuff.
You told us first lie.
Oh, no, of course not. Of course not. Big fan of the show. Brian has my, I don't listen to a ton of podcasts, but I have a good rotation of maybe like 10. Brian has my favorite intro. Hello. Like if there was several.
It's not even. I'm just completely stealing it.
Well, it works. If I don't know what it is, then it works. That it's you. I'd get a shirt that said that with your face on it.
Before we get into the Halloween Ends discussion, we suddenly, for a couple of weeks there, became. I don't want to say we were part of the Dabblerverse. Right? Because we're not. We're sort of outsiders looking in, but we did do a couple of episodes dealing with Stuttering John and that whole who were these podcasts, Shuli, the Uncle Rico show. That is all part of the Dabbler universe on Reddit, Dabblers Anonymous.
Okay.
So there is a whole culture and community around the Stuttering John podcast. And it can be odd for those who don't know what I'm talking about, because the first reaction, if you're not aware of what Stuttering John is up to or how people are reacting to him, you're like, what? Who? What? This guy's still alive? Which, John, you kind of had that reaction. You're like, what the hell is this? Yeah. So, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I know Stuttering John's still around. I just wasn't aware that all these like extern people are like having this secondary life afterwards. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't realize he was a podcaster. I didn't realize. I know Shuli left very recently, and I know he does stand up and everything, but I didn't realize he was a podcaster.
So I thought I would introduce, because Brian, you're not watching it as you're not. You have some. You both have lives, right? I'm on the computer all day, even for work. So I'm on YouTube all day, and I'm getting notifications all the time, and I'm completely addicted to Stuttering John and the whole Dabbler universe. So I thought I would share with you guys a couple of videos to give you a taste of what the Dabblers are doing. Because I'll tell you, it's wildly creative. It's hilarious. There's a ton of talent out there. And, that's why, like, our podcast gets, you guys suck. I'm like, yeah, well, look what we're going against. These guys are good. So I'm going to share the screen right now. Give me a thumbs up once we start to make sure you can hear this. But this is, as you can see, the of an idiot by Why Do I Podcast. Friend of the show.
Joni Heisenberg. Anyway, Joni Heisenberg, and let's see. Okay. Let's see.
So this dude, he downloaded and cut. This is like a 4-hour broadcast, and he got all these.
Jay Gatsby.
That's my favorite part. So there you go. There's a little taste of that. Let me go back and turn it off because I screwed it up. And then I want to show you. This is called Stuttering John, the Chorus Song. It's by Stut Joe's Fair Use Baloney Factory, which is one of the top tier Dabbler creative YouTube pages.
Have a few pints with the boys, and then make my way over. I'll probably have some,
Coors.
Oh,
Yeah, all I really want is Coors.
I hit the pub.
And in the morning, it's Coors. In the evening, it's Coors.
Yeah.
My house is filled with bugs.
Cockroach love carb.
I like a chick with nice jugs.
Pamela Anderson has
You need to send more super chats.
Is that a super chat?
To buy more litter for my cats.
Cat litter all over the place.
My body's covered in stink.
Then the room smells.
Invite my guest out for a drink.
Favorite pub, Pickwick Pub.
Jay Leno once laughed at my joke. I think I'll have another stroke.
Stroke.
Planning lawsuits with Pope
Michael S. Popak.
I need Viagra for my cock.
All we need is more Viagra.
Sometimes I stutter my words.
And you only fake that stutter.
Green screen is
This
covered
dude
in
was
cat turds.
the announcer on the Tonight
I
Show.
better watch his back.
I'd love to beat the shit out of him.
I got a weird growth on my sack.
That is disgusting.
In 3rd grade, I played the horn.
Wait, I was in all district band.
Howard gave me some popcorn.
Bonus was a popcorn canister.
The puppet Triumph sold my bit.
Stole my act.
Girl says that my breath smells just like shit.
I farted at a dinner.
Have OCD, can't clean my room.
I happen to be the slot.
Can you come help me set up Zoom?
Audio for StreamYard.
Susanna getting a handy from Adam Sandler in college.
Well, Adam Sandler's also a fellow NYU graduate, and so is my ex-wife. In fact, Adam Sandler and my ex-wife had sex when they were going to NYU.
Yeah.
Who was on the balcony, who was in the cat dish, who was in the hamper, who was blocking my door, who was...
Jesus.
And the trolls, they...
This is from his live
say
stream, all these
things
clips.
about my kids. And I just talked to Popak, and we are going to have ourselves a lawsuit. And thank you for the super chats.
This Coors Light is for you. Because I'm fucking pissed. Please, people, subscribe to my buddy. What is the mom?
All right, one more. All right, come on, John. You starting to get the taste of it, though, John. You see, there's I
haven't seen Stuttering John in a long time. I'm a Stern fan, but I don't keep up with these guys. He looks like someone that was on like 20 episodes of The Sopranos at this point, like background thug number 4.
It's rough. It's rough.
Oh,
all right, so here is. Let's see. Did I share this right? Here is. Let me get rid of that. Sorry about that. Okay, so this is a clip from the Uncle Rico show. This is a relatively new show where Shuley from former Howard Stern staffer, Bob Levy, legendary stand-up comic, Mike Morris, another comic who has Stern connections. They just watch clips from Dabblers Anonymous, the Reddit, the subreddit on Reddit, and they just react. And I'm telling you, I love it.
Chokes on his phlegm.
So this clip is called John Chokes on His Phlegm.
Oh, geez.
Patrick sent us this because he says, I know how much Bob loves clips like these. So thank you, Patrick.
He's a good boy, that Patrick.
He really
lonely baby.
They literally have a 100-year plan. And so, yeah, being patient.
Ugh.
That was a joke and a half.
Wow.
I gotta see this again.
Literally have 100 years.
And John, since you're uninitiated, John's show is a political show. He's very.
I noticed all the shirts and the Trump mug or the anti-Trump mug. It looked like
he's a political pundit allegedly who does this.
Your plan.
If he was a magician, a flower would come out of his mouth. Like,
A
dove.
A
dove.
It's like a bullfrog.
Jesus.
Please stop. Oh. You still joking?
Chew it down, John. Chew it down.
Guess I'm going down the one.
Yeah, it happens to me a lot. But
All right. So that's it. Let me see if I just one more. I apologize. Thank you. Go ahead.
I think he could use Dr. Jack Brown right about now.
Yeah, I don't even know who that guy is. Maybe they're talking about vaccines. I don't know what. So that was the uncle. Okay, then there's this other guy, right? Name is Cardiff Electric. I don't know who he is. I don't know if he's a comedian. I have no idea. He's connected to Who Are These Podcasts, which is like the grandfather. That's the podcast. And I'm like, maybe people know this, but maybe, John doesn't. So I'm explaining this for John's benefit. It's the podcast that first started these reactions. It did a whole podcast just reacting to us. I'm messing that up, but they react to Stuttering John every week.
Okay.
So do you understand? Does that make any sense? I apologize.
Yeah.
All right. So here's Cardiff Electric.
Let's see what John was up to, but Skull. Let's see what happened yesterday. Oh, also, yes, you may notice I've upgraded the studio. I have a brand new green screen. Thank you for all the super chats. I was able to do some upgrades. Thank you. But don't forget to like and subscribe and comment. That way I can do more upgrades to the studio. I'm considering adding a phone line too.
So anyway, I'm obsessed with that stuff. And anyway, that's why we've done a bunch of episodes on it, because it's just nonstop laughter. I was thinking the other day between Stuttering John and Who Are These Podcasts and the Uncle Rico's show and Kevin Brennan and all the craziness that's been going on with like Pat Dixon, whatever his name is, and Gino Bisconti and getting punched. I haven't laughed. Yeah. And Kevin Brennan went nuts just last night and went after Gino on the Anthony Cumia show, like physically went after him. I haven't laughed as hard since 1996. Yeah. He knocked the station off the air.
The booth. That's the one I'm talking about. That was incredible.
From just last night as of this recording. So there is so much good comedy out there. It doesn't all have to be John Mulaney on Netflix. There's so much
I ain't watching that.
Other stuff going on. So, all right. All that being said, again, I just wanted to expose Mr. Amenta to the world of the dabblers and Stuttering John. Now let's
was pretty tough to watch.
Right? Funny though, right? Funny.
Oh, yeah.
So speaking of funny, I don't know. This was a funny movie and funny like Joe Pesci. Do you think I'm here to amuse you? This is a crazy. I don't know what Halloween Ends was. I'm just gonna say right off the bat, I'll give it 1 star out of 4. 4 being the best. This was an atrocious movie. I didn't think it could get worse out of Halloween or from Halloween Kills, and somehow it managed to do that. So
it makes Halloween Kills look awesome.
Yeah, and we should say spoilers and all that. Right. There'll be a total reassessment of that movie after this piece of garbage, I guess. But I guess my first question, and maybe I'll ask John Amenta, who watched the movie, I guess. What, did you see it today? Did you see it in the theater, John?
I saw it in the theater, yeah. So real quick, in 2018, Lloyd, my co-host on The Pint, and our buddy Chris Frodell from Recent Activity, we went and saw the first one in 2018 in the theaters. And at the time, optimistic. And when it ended, it wasn't good. We didn't like it. But we said, next year, let's come back, right? There's going to be 3 of these. And at the time, it was going to be year after year after year. So we said, let's come back next year. COVID happens, it takes 2 years. So 2 years later, we said, and Chris goes to CT Horror Fest with us. So we said, let's go this year and see last year in 21 Halloween Kills. We go and see it. It's even worse than the first one. It's ridiculous. It's goofy. Exactly. Mr. Arguing with myself. And when it ended, we said, we have to come back next year. So it was more of a look. I'll tell you, I don't go to the movies a lot anymore, not because of COVID, just because it's kind of tough to get out there. But when I do go to the movies, I generally look forward to it, except for seeing Lloyd and Chris. I dreaded it all day because I'm like, this movie is not going to be good. So that was it. We went to the theater because we did it 3 times, and it was kind of like almost like an endurance test at this point.
And I put this on Twitter earlier today. When I was watching it, I watched it at home at Peacock. And I was laughing at times where I didn't think, yes. I know, okay, Danny McBride is a brilliantly, viciously funny dude, right? And we love Eastbound and Down, Vice Principals, anything these guys have done. Because there's that weird mix of drama and comedy, and it's awkward, and there's things you're laughing at that you're not supposed to be laughing about. But I found myself laughing in parts where I was like, this is unintentionally funny. This is not... funny, wink, wink, joke funny. So I put something out there. Were there people in the theater laughing when they weren't supposed to be laughing, do you think?
Me, absolutely. And yes, there were other people. I think there was just a sense from the beginning of this movie to the end of what the fuck is going on here. Like, because this movie takes such a weird turn. And yeah, there were people laughing at things. And like you said, I like Danny McBride a lot too. I love Eastbound and Down. I've seen a little bit of Vice Principals and Righteous Gemstones. I thought they were both really good. But I don't think that works for everything. And I just don't think maybe he works for Halloween movies. Because
I don't think he worked that much on this one.
I agree. I also, because if you look on the credits list, there was 4 writers.
Yeah.
He was third listed. Not that means anything.
Yeah.
But I think he gets diluted. And I think certainly you can tell the stuff he wrote. Like for me in Halloween Kills, all the Big John, Little John, the gay guys, that was him. That was him. Right. But in this one, I don't know if he's the one that said, you know, hey, let's make this thing, you know, the twist that we're going to talk about. Let's make this thing about somebody else. Like, who the fuck said that? Who wanted that?
I don't know what this movie was. So I watched it with my nephew, who was so anxious to watch this.
He
watched trailers.
Yeah.
He watched everything about it. He was like, oh, like he knew more about the movie going into it than I did. So we watched it, and midway through, he was just like, is anything ever going to happen in this movie? Like to the point where he started to grab his phone. I said, listen, we're not grabbing phones. We're watching this. You know, we're not allowed to fast forward.
It was so hard not to fast forward this movie. I've never struggled as much. It was like giving up heroin.
We did not finish it this morning because he was like, hey, can we just turn this off? I want to get ready for school. Like I even told him I'd drive him to school because it was on my way to work. And he's like, no, I'll take the bus. You know,
it takes an hour and 15 minutes. It takes an hour and 15 minutes to get going.
Yeah.
To turn into some type of horror movie or some type of slasher movie.
And we have a friend, and he's sort of a friend of me too, to our show in a sense that he hates our choices for everything. But Shane actually wrote something today that one time I finally agreed with him 100%. This was totally a David Gordon Green movie. I just don't know if this is what made me concerned that David Gordon Green making a Halloween movie. Like, it was weird that first off, this movie's an hour and 50 minutes. It either needed to be 3 hours or get rid of all these weird subplots
or a TV
that
show or something.
5 minutes.
So
it felt like minutes.
So in the movie, in the theater, at about like maybe the 25-minute mark, I leaned over to Chris Frodell and I said to him, this is like, it reminds me of the Simpsons episode 22 Tales of Springfield. I said, this is like 22 Tales of Haddonfield, because they're literally, you know, you get the pre-credit scene, which I actually thought the pre-credit scene with the kid dropping, I thought that was a good jump scare. And I was like, oh, maybe this is going somewhere. So you get the babysitter story. Then you get what's going on with Lori in the 4 years since. Then Lori at the grocery store, and it's like every scene, the bullies versus the babysitter, and every scene just felt like we're going through the town. But meanwhile,
it was like Twin Peaks. You're in an episode of Twin Peaks,
right? But meanwhile, you're going to a Halloween movie because you want to see Michael Myers kill people eventually.
Well, also, let's be honest, Halloween Kills. I mean, you could have finished this on the first Halloween.
Oh yeah,
you know, whatever this remake was.
Well, yeah.
You know, and Halloween Kills went nowhere because we thought, all right, you're saving it all to have the 2-hour fight scene between Laurie Strode and Michael Myers.
This movie just doesn't need to exist when it comes down to it. There was no reason for this movie. That's what really kind of kills me about it. It just, you know, they did it. It's purely for profit.
It's a love story.
It reminded me of, it was like,
people that like, how did this happen? And it was
she falls in love with him at first sight, just immediately. And it
it
sort of has a licorice
together.
It has a licorice It has a licorice pizza vibe to it. It's these young people running through Haddonfield, but by the way, that Michael Myers, the biggest mass murderer in the history of the planet, who is obviously a legendary evil. Oh, he's living in the sewer drain or whatever, the WPCA drain over there. While these two kids are falling in love, it was maddening. It was awful.
Living in a sewer in a latex mask.
Yeah, I know.
That's what kind of drove me. Listen, I don't want to see Michael Myers without his mask, which is another big fault to this movie. But he's living in a sewer. He hasn't changed his clothes. He's wearing a mask, and in 4 years, he hasn't left. You know, he's the most haunted man, you know, the boogeyman of Haddonfield, and he's still in the sewer in Haddonfield. Like the guy never went farther than that.
Nobody knows he's there, apparently.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
Like, can I ask a question about this movie that I asked Lloyd and Chris after we watched it? Is this movie a message movie about bullying? Because I felt like, you know, the babysitter kid, it was an accident. It was clearly an accident what happens in the beginning of the movie, but he becomes a pariah in the town, right? And when we first meet him, he's got a job. It seems like he's trying to just live his life, but nobody will let him live his life. And then he suddenly, for no reason, becomes fucking evil.
Well, here's what I thought.
If you went in that direction and it was like not his fault, but at some point he's like, we're just going to kill everyone.
It felt like the beginning of the movie, that whole character came from another script that has been shopped around. There was some other story out there, and then they needed a last Halloween, and they took a spec script or whatever. Like when we had Joe Greenberg as a co-host, he used to tell us about how this would happen, and they just took it and turned it into a Halloween movie. Because it does feel like it was interesting. That looked like another movie. You know, the opening scene, it was interesting. But then,
felt like an 80s movie to me, like, you know, like that Aidan Quinn, Daryl Hannah movie, Reckless. I never saw the movie, but I just remember the poster with the couples on the motorcycles.
Okay.
And like Return of
the
Living
reminded
Dead
you of a
Part
poster
3.
of a movie you never saw.
Yeah, like, but
wait, I'm not answering John's question though, because I don't know if it was maybe the other script had a message in it. I found myself asking, so I don't know if it really had a message. It seemed to be sort of carrying over some of the idiotic themes from the last one, where evil dies tonight and they all run through the hospital in that ridiculous scene.
Yeah.
It's sort of maybe it's almost like it kind of felt like the last Star Wars movie. They're like, oh man, we did some of this in that second one. Let's we got to do something. You know what I mean? It just they tried to take some of the ideas, but they had already been rejected, and so they rewrote it and then got this other thing in there.
It felt like the last Star Wars movie to me. In like Rise of Skywalker, in the essence of when I watched Rise of Skywalker in the theaters, the one time I saw it, I said to myself, this is a movie that feels like they're making it up as they go along.
Yes.
And this movie felt like that. There's these elements that you think they're going to stick with, right? There's the point where they fall in love immediately, and then you're like, oh, is she going to become like his like accomplice, but that doesn't really happen.
Right.
Then he murders the doctor with the scarecrow mask, and you're like, oh, he's going to be like the scarecrow killer. That goes away immediately.
I forgot that. Yeah, that goes nowhere.
That goes nowhere.
He teams up with Michael for a couple of kills, and then he just goes in the tunnel and beats Michael up and takes his mask.
Why does he do that? I was so like, oh god, none of it makes any sense. The other question.
Also,
wait, hold on.
Is he 30? All right.
The other thing I wanted to ask, I wanted to come back to this because we're talking about what's the message. Chris, argue with myself, dude, whose pen I have right here. When I put out there on Twitter, were people laughing in parts where they weren't, you know, was there unintentional laughter in there? He said, did I even have it somewhere? I have to like read it because I didn't understand a word of what he was saying here. He said, if it did, meaning unintentional laughter, and knowing people behind the camera, isn't that the point? Did it do its job? Then yes.
So I think he's
I mean, I was asking for unintentional though. Like I wasn't asking, was it trying to be purposely funny? But he got me to another point was, and this was a headline in the review of this movie in the Hollywood Reporter, is David Gordon Green just trolling us? Is this just one giant troll? Is it supposed to be as disjointed?
The guy he's doing the next Exorcist. I hope not. You know what I mean? I'm not that I care what that's going to be, but no, I think he thinks this was a good movie.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, Brian. I interrupted you. Before what you said, I just want to throw that out there because I've been saving it all day.
I was going to ramble. But what drove me nuts about is just logic points in this movie. Like this killer who spent time in prison, you know, the kid, you know, so oh,
did he? I didn't even realize that. I thought he got acquitted.
That's the problem. They're not showing you the timeline. This didn't take place like, you know, he definitely comes home and he's from prison. He killed a kid. They said he did jail time.
Oh, okay. I missed that. Sorry.
So, like, well, at least Will Patton, I thought, said that to Jamie Lee Curtis, and that's why she's being nice to him.
I think jail. I think like he was on trial I don't think he went to prison, but yeah, he spent time away, right?
He's not a teenager, and he's letting a bunch of punk ass high schoolers, which that was like, I wonder, was that an insight? Literally every person in that car was a different clique.
Yeah. Okay, let's play some audio. Let's play some audio. This is the scene where we first encounter the characters that Brian's talking about. It's outside a liquor store, kind of reminiscent of Superbad with McLovin, I guess, where these kids approach our antagonist, I guess. He's kind of the co-star of the movie. He has to carry really the whole movie on his shoulders. He's got the toughest performance in there. His name is Rohan Campbell as Corey.
Which is a bad name for a killer.
Right. Corey comes home tonight. I don't know what they were thinking there.
That was so scary.
Who's essentially the new Roy, right? Friday the 13th has Roy, and now we've got Corey. But here, this is a hilarious, I could only pull the audio, but here it is. Here's what they say to him.
We're seniors, okay? We've been practicing for a show the whole year, you know, loading up for tonight's game, and we're in the fucking marching band.
Yeah.
I was in the fucking marching band. I don't. And what's also, that accent? Why does that kid sounds like from that? Right. What is that?
Well, that was.
Hey, my name is. You might have saw me in A Bronx Tale. You know, if a girl, she flips the lid of your car, you're good.
That was like Corey's parents. Corey's parents were in Haddonfield, but they were like, I hope you find love, son. Like they were like right out of the Bronx.
Oh right, yeah. They own the scrapyard, junkyard. I totally forgot about that. That was horrible. I got to say, like, right as the movie began, that radio station, like just the biggest cliche, and that type of radio station has never existed. The DJ who just talks about Michael Myers 24 hours and is on the air 24 hours a day. It made me hate Haddonfield. Yeah. Also, the opening, the house in that opening sequence, how large it is, and then we go. What is Haddonfield?
Then it goes to a dead Haddonfield.
Where Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode now lives, right? She's got this beautiful home, but the home next to her is all boarded up. Like, what are they trying to say here?
Well,
what is this place?
One of the questions we had was, just or I guess logically is so the point is that Jamie Lee Curtis's character is now over it, right?
She's fine.
She's fine
because she has blonde hair now, like cute old lady blonde hair.
Right. She looks better. She's more effervescent. But even so, let's say she even did after 4 years get over all of that. You buy a house in that fucking town?
Well, that's what I didn't get. None of this makes sense. None of it makes sense. Oh my God. And also, was it the entire middle? Was it once scary? Was it once violent?
No. There was a good kill. The welder to the mouth I thought was pretty good.
Although they don't show it. They just kind of
I like that. I did like the fact that they just kind of gave it to you in like a kind of a close-up, but kind of
you had Halloween Kills, which
takes a long time to get to that part.
Yeah,
and it does have, and Brian, I'm sure it has it has one kill. I almost don't want to spoil it if you've not seen it, but there is one great kill involving a record player. I thought that was incredible.
And again, I'm not saying
but that's so deep into the movie, and to me, that was the only.
I'm coming off Halloween Kills, which, by the way, I have watched more than once because it's a perfect shop movie because it just makes no sense and it just kills all day long.
It's so
That was such a high energy movie. And then you just put the brakes on, change the storyline, didn't give me anything I wanted. All I wanted to see was I wanted to see Freddy versus Jason. I just wanted to see Michael Myers versus Laurie Strode. I could have watched that for an hour and a half.
They certainly reversed it because you're right. Halloween Kills, I remember when we saw it in the theaters, I was getting like tired of like the amount of kills and like so you do the ends bit in your middle movie where it's slower and maybe more character stuff, and then on the third movie you go balls to the wall. And they did it exactly the opposite. They made the second movie the crazy kill fest, and then the third movie is like a love story. and like you said, it's not Michael Myers until it is at the very end. And
even that's like kind of crappy. It all takes place on a kitchen counter.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, can we really spoil
the granddaughter? Like what, like that character goes nowhere. You killed the daughter, which kind of went nowhere.
And
You know
she's
what I
like
mean?
the
Like-
only one that can't see like the kid. I mean, the kid says to her at one point, like after they meet and fall in love like that, oh, I killed somebody, by the way. And then that doesn't seem to be brought up again in any way between the two of them. Well, you know, I want to play, though. I got to play another great line before I forget. This is, again, the marching band punks. They encounter Corey on a bridge, which they throw him off, and then Corey ends up
And they were such
doing
bad
something.
actors.
Yeah.
But although I will say, I thought all the performances, I mean, other than these kids, were really solid. I think this movie could have been much worse if it wasn't for, I guess it's Andy Matichak as Allison Nelson, who's Laurie Strode's granddaughter. Jamie Lee Curtis is great in it. And I thought, like I said, I thought the kid was really great too. But here's some bad lines. And I guess I get this is classic David Gordon Green, but it doesn't work here.
What is your problem with this kid?
This guy fucked up the LeBaron.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Fucked up that Chrysler LeBaron. And then just along that line, okay, then there's another scene. There's this.
Also, what was the dance scene? Are you going to ever talk about that? Oh.
I don't. Well, I was going to talk real briefly about there's a diner scene where
There's 4 diner scenes.
the granddaughter is talking with the new Michael Myers, just now Roy, I guess I'll just call him, and they're having this back and forth about wanting to get out of Haddonfield, and he's saying, "Well, we'll burn it down." Like John was saying, it was almost like he was trying to pull her into the "let's go kill everybody," but he wasn't. But they're interrupted by this cop who looks like me. He looks like twice her age, like, but he's an ex-boyfriend apparently, and that's why this is where I got my new name from. Here, let me just play this.
Pretty cool.
That's the cop.
I dig it. Hey, you said you were gonna call. You were gonna call, but you didn't call.
No, I owe you a call.
Did I do something wrong?
I'm with someone.
Oh. Oops. I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry for the intrusion. Well, you know, it's Joe Grillo's. Hey, Joe. Hey. Joe Grillo's birthday today, and Joe Ross he made a sponge cake.
I actually laugh about that because when he goes back over to the table and the cops are talking like, "Hey, you had a problem with that guy?" and I said to Chris, I said, "Don't worry, have some sponge cake. It'll be okay."
It's Joe Grillo's birthday and we made some sponge cake. What is that? What is going on? And here's another. There's a lot of those throw off lines, which were in the other movies too, and I sort of appreciated them. But in this, they just don't work. And an example is, okay, so there's the pre-credits scene where, you know, this kid is killed, right? And it's a big dramatic moment, and it sets the path for this main character of Corey or Roy. But and the boy's parents come home and see their child dead on the floor. Then Corey runs into the mother of the dead child in a bar during a dance party. Like, they couldn't have warned Corey. Oh, by the way, Corey, because they don't know who Corey is. But somehow he just, and then the mother, what was the mother's just throwing him back at a bar. That
also,
was,
you lost your son on Halloween.
Didn't she give off a vibe like she wanted to sleep with him? What was going on there too? Was that just unintentional, or am I just
in the beginning?
Weird.
In the beginning, when she called him over to the side, I was like, is she gonna tell him like I'll be home, like, you know, just stick around a little longer?
And I think that's bad filmmaking, because the fact that we both got that vibe either means we're perverts or that's bad filmmaking.
Honestly, I could probably
Or
say
both.
it might be that one for me. You know, there's enough, you know, there's enough stepmother porn in my browser history to probably go with that. But yeah, this is not a well-written movie. It's like, okay, so one of the things I wanted to mention was you brought up the Andy character, the daughter, right? Or the granddaughter. And you're right. When they said that was her ex-boyfriend, I thought this chick has no standards at all. Like, she's too cute for this guy. But like, she is so hyperly sexually and aggressive towards this Corey kid from the beginning. As soon as she meets him, she's just like really all about him. And I think in a better written script, there could have been like some dialogue about how, since her parents died and the tragedy of Michael Myers, that she's been like really like overcompensating. But they don't do that. And so then when you get to the point where she falls in love with this kid blindly, it makes no sense, because he never once gives you any idea that he is the kind of person that you would go, man, I really love this kid. He's like a fucking blank slate.
He literally just walks in. He's just got a wound. He's got an open wound from crushing a glass. Like, and then she's just like that. Yeah, I agree 100%. The other question I got to ask, and this has been all over Twitter, it's not an original thought, but it's one that popped into my head. Do we now all go back and write letters of apology to Rob Zombie?
Yes.
Well, I was going to say, like, to me, there's still like, at least Rob Zombie tried something completely out of, like, tried to start the franchise over and not pay so much homage to the originals.
Well, I think I think that's exactly what he did, though. He tried to make a Halloween movie, while this one is not a Halloween movie, which I guess, you know.
But they're still hanging on to the whole Laurie Strode stuff. At least he did, like, hey, I'm doing another generation of Strodes or whatever. This is my Halloween. Like, he's not relying, like, he altered the John Carpenter one, which I just think this one tried to be so meta with John Carpenter one. You know what I'm trying? Like, all this meta stuff now, all this, like, we know so much. And I just thought, like, Rob Zombies still are better than any of these David Gordon Green ones.
I think the movie that deserves, like, apologies, and we did a review a couple years ago on the show, is the second Rob Zombie Halloween movie, which people give a lot of shit to because
I love
that
one.
And I like it too. I do like it too. Because it's kind of batshit weird and everything. But you know what? I'll take that batshit weird over whatever this thing was.
Yeah.
Whatever this thing was, because this thing didn't even feel like a horror movie at all. It feels like a kind of weird love story that focuses on character for a fucking hour. And then when you finally get to who the killer is, it's not the person that you think it is. And then when he goes at the end, that's when they tag Michael in for the last fucking 8 minutes of the movie. And
but that again, he stole Michael Myers' mask. What? That is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in a movie. Why couldn't he have just been the Scarecrow killer and Michael Myers? They both show up at the same house, and they're, you know.
I agree. I totally agree. He could have done something different, and could have been a new terror that takes over in Haddonfield. And then at the end, Michael Myers could have come in and gone, "This is what I thought was going to happen." I told Boyd,
this is my town.
King Kong versus Godzilla, sort of.
Not my town. I thought he was going to let this kid go on a rampage. And then I thought the movie was going to end with the kid going to kill Laurie Strode and Michael showing up and killing him, in a sense being like, this bitch is mine. Like, you could do what you want, not this one. And I guess it kind of happened that way, but I don't know.
He knocked him out and took out his mask and, like, I'm going to dress up as Michael Myers.
Yeah.
Well, I did not understand why Michael ended up killing the kid. Why? I didn't even get that. Oh God. And the other thing, it's in, like, deep spoiler alert, the scene where Corey stabs himself and Jamie Lee Curtis pulls the knife out just as her the boyfriend or the girlfriend that was horrible. Like, that was supposed to be a big.
You predicted it. I could predict that.
That was
but then the granddaughter
cheesy.
Shows back up. She shows back up.
And yeah, I didn't understand that too. She's just like, the radio station's on fire. I better turn around. Like, what? Why would you think? Why would you connect that?
Well, she connected it because he said, "I used to come up here and look at this thing every day." And then so when and so when it's on fire, this dummy finally puts together that this kid, who's clearly not normal, is killing people. And not to mention, he's already told you he killed a kid. He's told you he wants to burn the whole place down. These are signs. these are signs that something's not right with this fucking guy. And she cannot read any of them.
It is like it absolutely feels like, I mean, I get that. Okay, the Halloween franchise, it's like John alluded to at the beginning of this. We all knew it had run out of gas, right? They probably should have stopped these things 10 years ago. But we all just gave it that last try. And I think, okay, it's not a Halloween movie, right? That's what everyone's saying. It doesn't feel like a Halloween movie, but who cares? Even if you take it as a standalone movie, forget Michael Myers, this movie is bad. It doesn't even work on its own.
Yeah. Like, the logic doesn't work. And, like, even if you want to call this a love story, Will Patton and Jamie Lee Curtis have a flirtation and it doesn't go anywhere.
So bizarre. Was this supposed to be an HBO series, and they're just like, we're not going to get 10 episodes. Let's just put it in the 2 hour movie.
This is a movie of subplots that are 2-page subplots that never go any farther than 2 pages.
Yeah, and it even goes down to characters. Like, at the end, when they're having the funeral procession.
Well, we talk about that?
And the black sheriff from the first 2 movies, who's not in this one at all, just comes out of the car and is like, this is how we're doing it. It's like one line.
Did people cheer in the movie theater? Like, was that it almost made it seem like they expected that, like when Darth Vader shows up at the end of Rogue One. Like, who cares about that dude?
Yeah.
Also,
yeah.
You mentioned that, again, the radio mentioned, the boogeyman, Haddonfield has seen better days, but they seem to all show up on Halloween to walk Michael Myers down.
How'd they know it was Michael Myers? He wasn't wearing the mask. That's the other thing. It's just some old. They start driving around town with a dead old man on their car.
My 8-year-old nephew goes, "Wait, the whole movie they made fun and called her names."
Laurie Strode.
They call her names, and you're like, "You killed you're the reason my family is this and that."
Oh God, the woman
and then
in the wheelchair.
They all
That's
rallied
so
with
stupid.
her and walked down like it's New Orleans, funeral.
Dance of the Dead or something, Mardi Gras.
Like, why would the whole town be into that? Like, why they all hated her. They all hated her.
Yeah, it was bad.
I can't believe of all these weird Halloween movies with the callbacks to characters from other movies, like the bartender, whoever she was in the earlier movies. No, Anthony Michael Hall. There was nothing. Like that's the other thing. He did. I didn't know. I wasn't. I thought maybe they'd he'd come back and he was in a coma or something. I thought something.
They showed a picture of him.
Oh, I missed that. Okay, all right. I wanted
they showed
something.
all the people that Michael Myers killed on the TV or something. I'm pretty sure he was in there.
Yeah, I think so.
It is crazy how this movie doesn't acknowledge the last moments of the last, all that chaos of the end of that movie is just not dealt with in any way. That's another thing that threw me for a loop. It's just also, it's as if it never happened. It's shocking. But I guess that in 10 years, someone will write a Michael Myers Halloween script where Michael Myers shows up in the Navajo Nation in like 1670, like they did with Predator.
Yeah.
Hey, that movie's really good though.
We will all eat it up and love it. Yeah, I liked it to a point, but it'll keep going. I guess that's what's going. He'll be in space. I guess one of those things.
Do you know the other movie? And I'm sure it's already happened because of 18 and kills. But the other movie, I think that's going to get kind of a resurgence. And I watched it last year, and I did enjoy it. I hadn't seen it in a long time. Is H2O, which was 20 years later with Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
That by itself, that was a much better movie than any of the three of these, because it was just her back. Michael Myers comes back, and it's a one-off where they eventually, go up against each other. And it's done so much better than any one of these three.
Hey, which rapper was in H2O? I can't remember. That's not
LL.
No, you're thinking the other one. That's Busta Rhymes.
Busta Rhymes is the next one. Resurrection, but LL Cool J was H2O.
Oh,
okay, LL Cool J. All right, I knew it was one of them. All right, I guess that's it. I guess we should go around. I already gave it my 1 out of 4 stars. Movie stinks. 1 might be being generous. I will never watch this movie again. I can guarantee you this is not a movie I'll revisit. Which at least Halloween Kills had Evil Dies Tonight. It was so bad or mediocre, but it had something. It had some life to it. At least that still is going on. This one, there's just nothing. There's just nothing. It's a terrible movie. Brian, how many? I'm
going to give it a 1 as well, but I will watch it again because I need to see how. I need to let it rest, and I need to see how I feel after all the hype and all the internet stuff dies.
And before we go to John, Brian, was that I assume that was a practical effect, the one with the record player. Do you know who worked on that? Or
Chris Nelson did all the makeup effects in this. So yeah, he's a very good, great makeup artist, Oscar winner. Total fun. But again, I wanted more gore. After it ends, after it kills, I thought there wasn't
right.
enough
Yeah,
death.
It lacks. Right. Absolutely. All right, Mr. Mentor of The Pint, a pop culture podcast. You could find him on iTunes and everywhere. He's everywhere. How many stars do you give this thing?
Yeah, 1. It's a horror movie that's not scary. It's not gory. It doesn't do anything that a horror movie should do. I even though it fails totally, I almost give it credit for what it, like the weirdness of it. I almost give it credit for that, because if somehow they had better writing, and even if it
all
was
landed, this could have been a genius movie.
Exactly. Like I kind of look at it as like this, and I'm not saying it's a genius movie, but if you ever saw The Hangover Part 3, it's so different than 1 and 2. It's like an action movie, kind of dark. It gets weird.
Is that the one overseas?
No, that's the second one.
Okay, I might not have ever seen it.
The third one is it's a much darker tone, kind of. It's still funny, but it's a little darker. And I always thought that was a bold choice. And did it work 100%? No. And like this, if this had worked, like Brian said, people would be like, man, that was like mind blowing how it wasn't Michael Myers and this kid, but none of it worked. So I give it 1 for trying to be a little different, but it's a total failure in terms of like landing. It does not stick the landing.
You know what I didn't ask, and then we'll call it a night. Okay, so and this is a giant spoiler, but so the scene where Michael Myers grabs the kid Corey in the sewer by the throat.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so is that from like what? Yeah, what happened there? Is that he transferred his evil into him? Is it from what was it? The Hidden?
Or did he see evil? Did he see evil in himself?
Or what are the Friday the 13th where it's transferred from one guy to another? Whatever one that is like what was going on there?
Well, we were talking about it after we left the theater, and we asked the same thing. Nobody knew. We were hanging out with Kurt Spieler, the director of New York Ninja and The Devil's Well, all that cool stuff. He was there, and we were talking to him afterwards, and we were trying to figure that out because the way they film it, you don't know. Did Michael possess this kid? Did Michael,
or did the kid awaken Michael?
Infect him, vice versa? Did the kid awaken Michael, or did they was the whole kind of life flashing thing like two kindred spirits seeing into each other's eyes?
That's the way I read it.
Did you also notice something that I found weird in the movie was, and they keep talking about how Michael Myers is just a man, even though in the end of the second movie he took that incredible beat down and got up. When he's in the sewer initially, he seems like he's limping, his arm doesn't seem like it's working. When he kills that first guy, and he starts like shaking like he's the Hulkster, and then
or he's having an orgasm. I was like, what is going on?
That's what I said. I said, is he coming in his overalls right now? And then they show he like
a Dahmer, like Dahmer. But
yeah, he stands up straighter. He kind of works the shoulder out a little bit. Like, what the fuck is this movie? What's happening?
Yeah, and the fact they never explain it, that's not a movie being smart or it's senseless.
What is your problem with this kid?
This guy fucked up the LeBaron.
Hell yeah.
All right, maybe is that the line from the movie, or is that the Evil Dies Tonight? This guy fucked up the LeBaron.
Nothing.
I don't know, but that might be a new bumper. I mean, that's a great.
All right, that's it, John. Thank you so much, man, for
Thanks, John.
Thanks. Coming on.
Always, anytime. And
everybody should subscribe and buy. Oh, go to his Patreon. How do people find what? How do you subscribe on Patreon? That's important.
Patreon.com/The Pint. It's one tier, $2.50 a month. I get up at least a couple of exclusive audio episodes. We just did a Trash Tolerable Treasure on Escape from LA. And I did a review on a solo review. I finally got around to watching Thor: Love and Thunder. I did a review on that. And we also just did a video review of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2.
And you are coming up, or maybe it already published, Street Trash.
Street Trash is going to be on the regular show. That's that's next week's episode.
Gotcha. Cool. So everybody, again, it's the Pint of Pop Culture podcast. And for Mr. John Amenta, Mr. Brian Spears, my name is Joe Grillo. I had to check, and we'll see you next time on Insufferable Bastards.
Sponge cake.